Hey everybody, welcome back to another Adobe Live studio session. I know I say this every time that this episode is really special, but this one does feel exceptionally special. We are actually in the New York office. I don't know if we can do a pan out. There we go. The New York office, and even more exciting, our very own Ryan Selvy is here with us, also with Andrew. But we're going to be digging into Ryan's creative past. He is someone who has been a part of Adobe Live for a very long time. I don't know if we have a timeline. How many years have we added?
Like 2019, so I guess that's what, like 7? Well, yeah, 6 or 7 years.
A founding member, I would say.
A founding father.
Yeah. A long time Adobe Live personality and has his own show on the stream. So really excited to dig more into that. But chat, another big part of this is you. So we do want to say good morning to you or afternoon, wherever you're watching from. This is in real time. So if you have questions for Ryan, Andrew, myself, Adobe Live in general, we would love to field those for you. So be a part of the conversation. And Ryan, back to you. You are a New York-based, Brooklyn-based motion designer and artist. But what are some other things that people may not know about you?
Some things that people may not know about me. I've been in New York now for 10 years, which I'm excited about. And I went to school for graphic design, then got into motion design from there. And something that's interesting about me is that I speak too softly. No, I guess that's something interesting about me.
You can think on that. We can come back to it.
I can think on that. We'll come back to it. I have nothing interesting about me.
Okay.
I fell out of a window when I was really little.
Okay.
So there's that.
The tale.
Oh yeah, no, I fell out of a second story window, got medevaced, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So lived to tell the tale. So.
And it's been all uphill from there.
And it's all been uphill, or out the window, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Andrew, how's chat looking?
Hi, chat is looking good. In chat, I'm here to relay your questions. So if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We will be talking about them here on the show. And we are live from New York. So very special one. Let us know if you have any questions specifically about the future of creative work, or if you have questions about becoming a creator or what kind of like content you should be creating. We can work on all those as well. So drop your questions in the chat and we will answer them over the next hour or so.
Wonderful. Well, Ryan, aside from this other childhood story, you have always been someone who's been creative and has taken a lot of different paths throughout your life, like most creatives, I feel like. When we spoke before, you shared this story about drawing cartoons with your sister or sisters.
Sisters. Youngest and only boy.
Sister.
So.
But this was kind of one of the first memories you shared about like being a creative and realizing that this was something fun and that you wanted to do. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that story?
Yeah, shout out to Pappy Druitt. I think it's a PBS show. But it was this guy that had a giant pencil and he ran around and talked to puppets. But then at the end of the show, he would draw and he would tell you how to draw through it. And I would draw it with my older sisters, and my drawings would always be better, even though I'm younger considerably by my oldest sister. And it was a point of contention because my dad would scan my pictures and make them his desktop background, but they wouldn't scan my sister's.
Oh.
And so that was kind of when I was like, oh, okay, so this is something that I'm good at. And then from there on, it just was always something I could be interested in, and was always something that I was drawn to.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
So you started off creating cartoons, and then you kind of pursued that throughout school, it seems, and then it's taken a couple different avenues. You even started a Discord for other artists and things like that. Community has always been really at the base, I feel like, of your creative journey.
Not even creative journey, just kind of, I am not a big buff guy, although I've tried to be before, maybe one day. But so I think my evolutionary survival tactic is like strength in numbers. And I work best in teams, and both on things when I'm rattling things off of people, or if I'm like in social settings, I do much better, I feel, in groups rather than like one-on-one. So I think it's just something that I'm naturally always drawn to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a really big part of Adobe Live. I feel like we resonate that same sentiment of, better in numbers and better together.
I think that the most annoying word online, of many, I could do like 5, but number one probably would be community. Join the conversation, join the community, because it's just every single brand does it or whatever. I will say, and this is kind of a shill, I'm sorry, but I will say, and I pitch this when I talk to people who are going to stream on Adobe Live, I'm always like, I don't know how, like, it's kind of this like secret under bubble thing, but like the people that gather around Adobe Live are some of the nicest people that all support each other regardless of skill, regardless of age. Like you get people all the way from right out of high school all the way to like retired and have been industry professionals, and then everyone in between. And yeah, I don't know how they've managed to do that because the internet can be really mean, but Adobe Live for literally 6 or 7 years like doesn't have trolls, doesn't have people who are pretentious. Like, I don't know.
It's true. And speaking of those people, want to say hi and shout out some of our friends. Dino is here. Sean Kosel, nice to see you. And Pearly is in the chat as well. Chat, if you have any questions, please let us know. Our moderator today is Adara, and she will help us relay those and chat through. But
Adara also has a new Adobe Live On Demand video series coming out soon.
Okay.
And it's great. It's all about photo editing and actually some video editing in there too, right? So get ready for that. And maybe when you're listening to this, if you're watching the replay, it might already be live. So get ready for it.
Hello, Winter Powell Art says hi as well. Dino was saying, great to see Ryan on the other side of an interview. Ryan, you are a regular here on Adobe Live. What is the other side of being on the other side of the interview?
The other side. I mean, I've played all sides, right? Like I've done producer where I'm behind the computer. Shout out to Jacob. And then I also have done where I do the hosting gig, which I did yesterday. Actually, I took your spot for office hours and pretended to be Andrew. And so I always really like live streaming in the sense that you get to do the theatrics, but you also get to do your expertise. And so hosting is fun because you kind of also get to bring somebody else into that space, and you can be like, all right, let's make you look good. And so I really enjoy doing that.
And if you like Ryan and you like what he's saying, stick around right after this. There is a whole nother dose of Ryan coming up for File New.
Ryan in his own element.
Ryan.
Sounds like my sequel. Ryan, a whole nother dose of Ryan.
A whole nother dose of Ryan.
If you weren't
Ryan,
now you are.
Yeah. To Ryan, to Selvy.
Very cool. Okay, so let's dive back into maybe following the thread of what your creative career has looked like. So you were on your dad's wallpaper, you made amazing drawings, and then you decided, okay, I'm going to pursue this as a profession.
Yep.
You originally started in illustration, is that correct?
Switch back and forth. So it was like one of those things out of high school you have to pick like what field to do. Part of me was like there was theatrics. Part of me was going into some sort of design. I was on the newspaper in my high school. And so when I decided to go to art school, and I went in for graphic design because that's the thing that everyone says, you make money for. But I also was doing web comics on the side. And so when I got to school, I was like, oh, maybe I should actually take up this thing called illustration that they have here, which I hadn't really thought about. I just thought about illustration as being, I don't know, children's book illustrations. And I didn't necessarily know that. So I hopped into that. Then I missed graphic design. And so then I hopped back into graphic design, graduated, then got into motion design. So it's like I just hop all around all the time. I like too much of everything to fully focus on one field of creativity. So
I feel like when we were talking to you, shared, I think that you had self-taught yourself almost all of the programs in the Creative Suite, with the exception of maybe After Effects.
No, I mean, most everything is YouTube and like old podcasts that I used to watch on my little iPod video, before it was even the full screen, back when you had the click wheel, and I'm laying in bed watching different stuff. I'm doing lots of name dropping, but am I allowed to name drop?
Yeah, you can name drop whatever you want. Yeah.
Like Film Riot, they're big video guys. They're still around, I think. And I learned a lot of video through them. And then there was these Photoshop guys. I can't remember who they were, but they were like 3 middle-aged men sitting around a big table just each week going over updates to Photoshop, raw photo. And I was, a 12-year-old being like, this is great. This is
cool.
On your iPad?
No idea where they are now.
Yeah.
But I learned through that and just wanting to create cool stuff. And then you kind of teach yourself, right? So.
Yeah. And so you went into school, illustration design, back and forth, trying to decide what you want to do. You also started developing your own comic strip. Is that right? Yeah. And that really took off.
Yeah. So always liked drawing, got a tablet freshman year of high school. And that's back when DeviantArt was a thing.
Oh.
And I wanted to make other cool things on DeviantArt. I then started posting things onto Tumblr, and then it kind of picked up and got bigger, and then it was just something that I did as a creative outlet on the side. I've dipped my toe in and out of it over the years. Currently not doing any webcomic, but it is something that always is an easy, let's feel creative, let's feel funny, that I can always tap into.
Yeah, and even then you started to bring in other artists, right? So you kind of had a community building aspect to that. It wasn't just you.
It's how I met one of my best friends, actually. I met multiple people. There were multiple people at my wedding this year that I had met through online means, and one of those people I met Butterfly Effect from online comics, and I did not meet him in person until my bachelor party.
You're kidding.
Yeah, which was kind of like, all right, let's hope this is as good of a friendship as it is online, and it absolutely is, and I love him to death. But yeah, it's just like I've always been an internet person, and so big advocate of the internet and technology, and I've formed a lot of really great relationships through it. And I think people, I mean, I found my husband through Tinder, so like that's also online, right? And yeah. I love how it connects everybody, and it really breaks down barriers, which is nice.
I want to touch on that. I feel like a big part of community is obviously bringing together a lot of different people, backstories, skill levels. How do you create a place that people all feel welcome to and that they can be a part of, even if they have different skill levels?
I mean, you tell me. You do a great job too. But I think the biggest thing is just making sure that everyone feels like they have a right to have a voice. I think some communities try to be too exclusive, and it really actually shoots them in the foot. They think that they're being more prestigious. But I remember when I made the webcomic Discord, we got hundreds of people in there. Some of the bigger people didn't contribute because they're like, it's too busy. But the people that did really helped create a resource for the younger ones to kind of mentor them, to be like, okay, I have 1 million followers on Instagram. Like, this is what I did, and this is what I find successful. This is what you can too. And like the friendships that made that, like it made someone who, just because they don't have a big following, like might still be very talented or might just be very eager, and you can do collaborations and stuff. And so if you're able to just give everyone a seat at the table, then I think you can achieve and create a lot more community and cooler things.
You shared this story with me about kind of elitism that you found in school, where people would kind of be like critical of your work for the first time, and that,
Weird.
yeah, and even with that though, you're like, not all design needs to be this highbrow experience that only certain people can appreciate, and only certain people are the gatekeepers to the tastemakers. Can you share with us about that philosophy?
It was a very sobering experience, going from being very interested in graphic design and just like I was the designer for my school newspaper, and like everything I made, everyone was like, this is great, Ryan, thank you so much, like we don't even know how to open up Illustrator, to then going to art school, and there are people who kind of like prison, like walk in and like decide that they're going to be the bully, they're going to be the one that's going to make the loudest statement on day one. And like running into that was really weird, because art people are nerds. We're nerds. And I was like, oh, if you go to a school of all nerds, like everyone's going to be nice. No, everyone just reorganizes, and like you still get the popular art kids and the nerdy nerd art kids. And it was very clear very quickly of like who decided they were going to be the ones that were better than everybody else and like the loudest in the room. And they're not always the most successful. Like some of them, yes. Some of them, like, they talked big game, and then they ended up being people who are in, the art world, and they're far beyond anything out of my reach. But then there's other people who like were the golden children, and they just like, you see them on Instagram, they're still looking for work. And it's just like, it's all about connections and network, and like, don't burn bridges, and give people the benefit of the doubt. And like, they might surprise you with a skill set that you don't even know that they have, and maybe they don't even know that they have. So yeah, don't like bullies.
I like that angle of, it's not just about how like skilled you are, how skilled someone else is, then it's like, how skilled are you together? Then
Yes.
It's about like finding out who else can I collaborate with in these, and then how can we both leverage our skills to create something that is like new and interesting.
And it also like helps you learn things about yourself, because when you have to work with someone else, whether it's you have to like share files, or you have to share your process, or you have to just like, oh, I have to articulate how I'm working through this. That like helps you figure out like, oh, I never even thought that I do that thing. I just do it and it pops up. And working with someone will help highlight that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kind of you and Nick, right? Like,
Oh, 100%.
with office hours, you guys really shake each other's hand, I feel, in a way of learning about each other.
Yeah, we do a segment that we call Brand Slam, where we like design and like build a brand together. And there are streams where like, and I think I've admitted this before, where Nick is just like absolutely killing it and making the most amazing thing. And like 10 minutes in, I know it's not going to be like what I'm doing is not going to be good. I'm like, I am not in my creative flow. My idea is not great, but I need to like do it for another 25 minutes or whatever. And usually during that time, I'm just watching what Nick's doing. And I'm like, is there something that he's doing that can inspire me, or like a technique that I can use for something else? And there's so many times that I'm like, oh, I got something, like I'm just in the audience now. Like, yes, I'm on screen, but like being able to collaborate with people like that is so cool, because you have that discovery moment and you're like, oh, you are showing me something, but I'm getting something totally different out of it.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna come back together and create something that's like new. So yeah, I love that.
And then do you do a lot of collaboration with people?
Yeah, I work with creative teams.
Yeah, like you feel like you work better alone, or do you work better in in teams. There's no right answer. There's
No,
some people who work better alone.
I do not do a lot of work for myself, so I work much better. I think working with teams and like, yeah, we have a shared goal. We want to get there together, and the better ideas come out of that.
Yeah,
Always.
I think that this is like not a read, but I think that you.
I'm scared.
Here we go.
Yeah, I know, right? I think Emily is very good at like improv. People say like yes and I think there are collaborators that are yes and, but I also think there are collaborators that are like yes but. And I think that like you are good at that. You're good at like synthesizing. You take in like the big crazy idea and the big like all over the place, and instead of like yes and making it crazier, you're like yes but, and then you can like pull it and like shape like the idea really well. And so I think it's interesting having collaborators like you that is the yes and like let's go crazy and do whatever, and then other collaborators that are like the yes like let's synthesize and process and bring it together. I think that's the most fun part of community and creativity is finding the different kinds of collaborators and figuring out like how can we make whatever is the best thing in the way that we work.
No, I think
Yeah.
well put.
Yeah, I mean, we've all individually, I think, worked together. Like we collaborated a lot on the Christmas streams and
Yeah, we
or
did.
the holiday streams, and then we collaborated for many years, like together professionally. And so, yeah, it is really interesting to see that, and even just get to continue to do this. So.
It's us just doing the Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking in my mind. I was like, how do we articulate this? Okay, amazing. So you go to school, you graduate with a design degree.
Yep.
Okay, and then you land at agency. You've made it. Everything's amazing.
Congratulations.
Tell us about those early days.
No, for sure. Going back to the idea of connections and the idea of like don't burn bridges, very butterfly effect of I worked at a restaurant and they didn't let guys be servers, so I wanted to work somewhere else. So I ended up working at Red Robin, and I met a bartender through there. She was also looking for a job. She got a job at an agency. She then was talking to me on one of the weekends that I was working. She's like, I have to go to this art school down in Baltimore to look for interns. And I was like, you know, that's my school, right? Like, and she's like, wait, what? And so then that brought me get into the door of this agency and then essentially get that job. And it's just more so of like, you know, had I not nurtured that relationship with that bartender, because she was one of my good friends at Red Robin, like, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have ended up at that agency because I wouldn't have even heard about it. And like, I also wouldn't have had anyone vouch for me. Like, she really vouched for me. And I think that that's really important because that's even someplace where my design obviously played a role in me getting hired eventually. What I did is I had a wallet and I printed out all my artwork on dollar-sized paper. And I put it in the wallet, and then I took a picture of myself and put it in like the little like front spot. And then I took a vinyl cutter and I wrote like, "Oops, I dropped my wallet. Give me a call." And so I went for the interview and I talked to Ben. And then as I was talking to him, I like pushed it back through like the bottom of the chair. And then when I left, they went to go pick it up and run after me, and they opened it, and then they were like, "We found your wallet." And then they told me that's why I got the job.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and
That's
it's just like
incredible.
And so just like, I don't know, being smart and strategic about stuff. But then at the same time, Tiffany was then able to be like, I worked with him. He's a very hard worker. And she doesn't know anything about my design. But she, you know, she was in the HR part. But she like was able to speak to my work ethic and how I can work with others. And I think that is something that a lot of design people overlook. They think like, as long as I'm really good at creating images, I can get any job. And it's like, that's literally like only 20%, 30% of it. Like, I'd much rather work with a mediocre designer who I can work with than like the most talented person ever that is a horrible coworker.
I like that you turned the interview into a performance art piece. You said, "Watch this."
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave my wallet behind.
I feel like I have to.
We had someone at the school that we went to that did something similar like that. I remember I went to her like senior. She was trying to get a job, and her resume was in the her senior show was in the winter, and her resume she had laser printed square marshmallows and burned a QR code and was like handing out hot chocolate with QR code marshmallows for. And I was like, that's great. Which brings me to this question: is I've seen a couple of different examples of that. When looking at maybe like students or people who are earlier in their careers, do you think that just having good work is enough, or do you feel like you need that like special something?
You need something special to show that you care. Like, same thing of like if you write a news article or an essay, like if you just cover all the facts, that's not fun. People like the parts of personality that are in between the words, you know? And I think that applies to everything, not just design and not just writing. But even if you're applying for an accounting job, like I think obviously they're going to want you to know your math and stuff, but like same sort of thing. It's always just networking.
Yep.
Which is a nightmare for some people, and I get it. It's also a nightmare for me sometimes, but like you got to find what works for you and how you can network in places that make you comfortable. So
yeah, there was this piece of advice you shared, which was if you want to be a freelancer, it's always like best to be talking about your work all the time.
Yep.
How do you encourage people who are maybe less self-promoting or a little bit more nervous? How do you advise them of like, hey, get out there, hey, tell people about yourself?
I think, yeah, biggest thing for freelance, how do I make it as a freelancer? How do I get jobs? Like it's not you could probably get jobs off the websites where you post to get gigs, but a lot of times they're going to get the people who are grifting and stuff. Basically maintain relationships. I have a CRM that I haven't used in a while because work's been good, but it's basically a customer relations manager, which people use often for when they're making sales. I wouldn't use it necessarily to pitch people and like come in and say, hey, like I'm offering things, because you don't even necessarily have to do that. If you stay in contact with people, when things naturally come to them, then they will think of you if you are top of mind, if you talk to them about hot chocolate this week, right? So, I also am notoriously bad at names and stuff, so it also helps with that. But it would be this thing, I'll name drop it, but it's called Dex, DEX, and you can set it up to also link to like your LinkedIn. But then you can put in reminders to check in with people. So when I left my agency or whatever, I had one for my creative director that I just was like, I want to talk to Ryan every 2 weeks. And so I would just like text a hello or find an article that I could send him every 2 weeks and kept the conversation going. And I got plenty of jobs through him. And it's not even nefarious. I mean, and part of it also is like I consider him a dear friend. And like just being able to have reminders to check in with people as an adult is nice, because it's so easy to fall out of touch with people, you know?
Yeah, I think it's good advice too, that it doesn't always have to be necessarily like, oh, look at this thing I did, look at this other portfolio piece. Like you don't need to be producing new work. You just need to be maintaining a relationship and staying in touch with someone top of mind. So you were at this agency, you were working with crazy clients, you had Charlie XCX, you were with Marriott. You also were with the Philadelphia Flyers, I believe.
Yeah.
You decided to leave. What was that choice like?
Well, it was a lot of things of, one, I'm a night owl, and you getting up in New York, they were a little bit more lenient to be later, but is that funny to you that I'm a night owl?
What?
Yeah, it's
oh,
like,
no,
you're coughing.
it was a little cough. No. Oh, I know that you're a night owl. Yes.
And so that was also really hard because I would have to show up to work at 9. I really wouldn't get anything done until like 11 or noon because I would just be so tired. And then I ended up working even later then too. And then I was just like working all the time. I was exhausted and I was burnt out. And I was also had to fulfill things that weren't always super really, like obviously the things you listed are some of the fun ones, but you know, between all of those are boring ads that are also out there for financial institutions or pharmaceuticals. Which I'm not against doing again, by the way, but just...
He is open to work.
I do think that there are a lot of conversations that happen on podcasts, on Adobe Live, in like the creative realm that are like the big dream clients.
Yeah.
And I love talking to people like you that are the freelancers that you're like, oh, that's like 20% of the work.
Yeah.
Like the reality is that like 80% is the pharmaceuticals and real estate and like doing flyers and brochures. Like it pays the bills.
It pays the bills. And also it's one of those things where it's like you get the jobs that you display, and so no one's going to hire you for something that you've never done before, or at least can't show that you're going to do it. And if I only show like my pharmaceutical ads, like I'm only going to get pharmaceutical ads. I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to show anything that I worked on pharma, because I don't want to do that. I mean, if I need to pay rent, I can whip it out. Hey, I can do this, and I'm going to specifically send it to clients, but I'm not going to put it on my website because I don't want those jobs for if I don't need them.
So you decide,
Please
though,
still hire me.
Eventually you're like, you know what, I can... You decide I can do this for myself, right? I'm going to start working for myself. What were those early days like for people who maybe are thinking about leaving their current 9-to-5 or wanting to pursue freelance? What kind of advice do you give for early days?
I definitely didn't do it without having any sort of safety net. I did it with a few clients already in place. I had some that were with my agency, and I was friends with the CEO of my agency, or whatever you are. And he was like, they can't afford us as an agency anymore. Like you can take them as a freelance thing. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take them. And so I had like 3 or 4 lined up. One being Behance, which was interesting. And then I was able to make that leap because I had some sort of like, okay, I'm going to have something, right? So I guess if you have a nest egg and you can last a few months without a gig, you can do it without something lined up. But I would probably say line a few things up and then see if you like it too. I feel like a lot of people start freelance like, wait, no, like I don't have the self-discipline, or I don't like everything being reliant on me. And that's important to know about yourself. And it's also totally okay if it's not for you. Like, some of the best designers and creators are people who are just like, I like a 9 to 5. I like an office. I like going in. I like having a boss. Like, that's also totally fair. I'm just a night owl who also likes to work on my own terms and time. And so it works for me, you know?
Yeah. How's chat doing?
Chat is doing great. Stephen Overturf just showed up.
Hey.
Hello. Saying hi. And Annie Palomares saying this is a great conversation.
Wow.
Nice to see you, Andy. Hello.
We're glad that you guys are here. Okay, so you touched on Behance,
Yep.
the early days of Behance. What was that connection like? And that eventually led into Adobe live streaming. Is that right?
Yeah. So I quit my job in October of 2019, which like, it sounds like a
wild
nothing.
time.
Well, yeah,
But that was a something.
But it was great because I had a few months to get my footing before the world shut down. And then when the world shut down, everyone suddenly needed freelancers. So it was this kind of perfect storm of having like, I had made some connections and I had got some stuff going on. And then once February or March hit, like boom, suddenly everyone was reaching out. But when I was starting with Behance, they were just doing a small test run of live streaming on Behance with 10 streamers that came in. They knew that I streamed because I was streaming on Twitch, drawing comics at the time. And then they're like, oh, you're really good with community. Like, can you help manage these 10 streamers? I said, sure. And then the world shut down. They're like, okay, we're going to switch from 10 streamers to 100 streamers. And that's when I got to meet Gus Martin from Adobe Live. And then from there, we got to develop a relationship and work and then reach out with all these other streamers and really talented and cool people. And that also helped me get to know a lot of friends. And then from there on, it was just like streaming. And now we're here.
You have some really great Adobe Live lore that I would love for you to share. Can you talk
boy,
to
which
more
one?
about?
Which one?
Lord.
Well, you did holiday takeovers for a while. I think you really owned those and did some really fun creative things. Do you want to tell us about those?
Yes, those are some of my favorite. Very inspired by the Christmas specials that you get that are really cheesy. Casey Musgraves has one.
Oh, that's my favorite. I make everyone watch it.
Oh, really?
Every year.
And then also Pee Wee Herman is probably a big fave. Interesting history. He's not a villain as much as you think he is. So look into that, but then watch his special because his special is really good. And I just love the campiness of it. Same sort of thing of like everyone brings their own stuff. And then the tackiness of it all. I love tacky Christmas, holiday, anything. And so we would bring everyone together, do these specials. And it was during the shutdown where everyone couldn't go home. I didn't go home for the first time. And I was like, I still need to feel festive. I was living with 6 people in a 3-bedroom New York apartment. So it was very crammed. But we turned the whole thing into like a soundstage and set up cameras and spiraled around. And my one roommate did cooking and another did like the Hanukkah story. And the other did singing. And my husband did wreath making. And then I had different artists that were part of the Behance streaming community come in, and some like Anna Davis Court did a lot of stuff where she would like draw along and share, and then it just became a variety show. And then we started doing it for Halloween and Valentine's Day, and I absolutely love them. I would love to get back to them. They just take so much time, and also it asks a lot of friends and colleagues to commit time of their own too. So I would love a day where I have money and I can just like finance the whole thing and pay a bunch of people and make really cool stuff. But can you hear that on the thing? Can you hear the gurgle? Okay.
There's an in-studio gurgle.
I was gonna be like, guys, this is my tummy.
We're hungry over here.
Are there any specific segments that really stand out to you that you're like, oh man, this one was like so precious to me, you should go back and watch it?
Oh, for the thing, I liked the Halloween special where I did a drawing of me running around a little made-up town that I made, and I put all my friends in different spots. One of the friends was like a witch in the woods that I ran into. There was also like doors that I knocked on, so that was really fun. And then also, I think my favorite of all of them, though, is the Valentine's Day special. We did very retro dating show style, because I also got to brand everything. That's why I really liked it. I got to do all the motion graphics on top of it and the interstitials and stuff, because I always like interstitials. I like Nickelodeon where it would pop up, you're watching Nick, or like the silly things.
Disney Channel.
You're watching Disney Channel, all that sort of stuff. And I love that stuff. I wish people did more of that stuff. And so the live streams helped give me an excuse to do it. So they're all great. Watch all of them. But Valentine's Day, I think, is my favorite.
And what do we call that series? It was like,
It was normally just like a holiday special.
what do we call it when you would do a full takeover?
Oh, offset week.
Offset. That's
Yeah,
what it
not to be confused with the
Oh.
rapper on accident.
Yes.
But that's fine.
Yes.
I didn't think about it until too long. But the whole thing was like the Adobe Live team was like going offset, and then also I was like, oh, I use offset in Illustrator all the time. Let's call it offset. But then it was like, oh wait, duh,
And
there's
Someone
a
else
rapper.
is famous already.
If you want to watch that, you can go back in the Adobe Live archives. Everything is available to you on the Adobe Live archives. If you want to watch this in the past and you're watching it and you want to watch it again, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or if you want to catch up on old episodes of File New, you can just type in usually like whatever you're looking for, Adobe Live, and there's probably going to be a video for it.
Very true.
There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos for you, including a bunch of creative challenges from the past. So if you ever want to check it out or see some vintage Ryan,
Vintage Ryan.
Ooh,
Long-haired COVID hair Ryan too.
so much
That
to
got
see.
crazy because I wasn't getting haircuts, and so it's just like
Yeah, no, you get it.
I was like
Another
streaming.
great note on that, though, if you're not subscribed yet to our YouTube channel, you definitely should do so.
Yes.
So that way you don't miss out. Yeah, Ryan pointed at the camera,
Yeah,
but it
I'm
wasn't
off
on the
camera.
camera. I'll do it for you.
Camera, there we go.
Subscribe. That way you can stay up to date with everything that we have going on in Ryan's show when you're coming out with that next, so people are not missing out. Can you talk us
about half an
about,
hour.
yes, a new one. Can you talk us about File New and where that started from and then what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a designer and creator news show that's live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And it is all about creator news, designer news, resources, spotlights, font of the week, which people really like. And it just helps everyone stay updated because it's moving so fast. It always has moved fast. It is moving the fastest it has ever moved before. And it's just a way of me staying up to date and then also being able to keep everybody else up to date.
Oh. You first.
Ooh. With doing File New, it's a ton of work, and you're constantly like researching and finding new content, and it's always like fresh, like hot takes and the most recent. Is that still something that you're discovering inspiration out of for
course.
other things?
Yes. I'd be doing it anyway is the thing. That's why it just works
Yep.
that I get to have a show out of it.
Yep. I guess that answers my question. I was going to
Yeah.
ask, like,
No further
does
questions.
it sparse out to like other places in your creative process? And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just what you would be
No,
doing.
it's
You're
what
just
I'm
helping
doing.
everyone else stay inspired too.
Right, because I've always liked technology and I've always liked art, and they're always kind of like things that I've just always been constantly checking in on. And I also especially love rebrands and when logos change and how, in general, the public always hates a redesign unless it is perfect. Public hates redesigns, and that's a really interesting psychology. And so that also really inspires me too to see like what is the thing that doesn't make everyone mad, which is very few and far between. So.
Although there are some interesting ones we're going to be talking about on File
We
New.
are. We have one
Very
that we actually
shortly.
like, where we agree that we like.
Yes, I saw it. Said great.
Wait, which
Let's
one?
do it.
Can we preview?
A grand reveal.
Yeah.
Can we preview what's
The-
coming
the-
next
the-
in the episode?
The McCafe.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah, we like McCafe.
Oh, it's
yeah. Oh, it's great.
So tune in. You'll see it's great. Okay, I feel like there's something really special about you and the fact that you are not necessarily off-put by new technology, that you almost see it as a challenger or something of interest. Obviously, we are in a time of creativity evolving like it never has before, in this almost pressure cooker of AI and other things that are just really adding to the conversation. What approach do you have to keep curiosity rather than feeling scared, or an open mind versus feeling like, it's just not for me?
For me, it's I definitely look at technology with optimism and like a utopian approach. I know there's a lot of nefarious actors with any technology. There's always really bad things that can happen. But I've always really been in technology because it makes life easier. I always like laugh at people that are like, I was born in the wrong decade. And I was like, dude, like, you forget, like, we didn't really have toilets, like, only a few hundred years ago. Like, people were throwing things out into the street. And then also the idea of anyone being able to connect with one another is such a huge thing that, like, our generation kind of got the first taste of. And being able to communicate. And obviously, there has been some really bad things that have happened from the internet. But you kind of just, it's same sort of thing as, like, one bad comment is a lot bigger than, 20 positive comments. And I think a lot of times people really get stuck on the idea of one really bad thing that's happening with technology. But for every single bad thing in my opinion, I feel like there are 20 good things that, I get to have a new creative program to work with, or a new way to distribute my content or meet new people. So I have just optimism in technology, not blind optimism, because you need to know the bad things. I talk about that a lot on File New. I'm like, I don't feel one way or another if you feel a certain way about AI or not. You don't even have to use AI if you don't want to, if that is against it, but you need to know literally what's happening, because if you don't know what's happening next door, then like how are you going to keep up? Because and that's not saying, because I know that's a big thing that like AI bros will also say, it'll be like, you have to use it, like you'll be left behind. You don't have to use it, but you have to know the people who are using it, what they're capable of and what they're doing. So like if they're pushing out 12 pieces of content because they are just generating it, then what are you going to do to then create 12 pieces of content, or 5 really good pieces of content that can compete with that 12? So just being educated and aware of what's going on will help you, regardless if you use it or not. So
We do have a question in from the chat, and the question is, where can we read your comic?
my comic. Oh,
Ooh.
dude, I don't even. Is it still
Is
up?
this it?
A deep cut.
That's the second
Dance
comic.
Project. Okay,
yeah,
second
yeah.
comic.
So nothing
Okay.
suspicious. That was the one that I did with my buddy Dylan, who actually.
And I'll drop this in chat for you.
Yeah, if you want to. But I don't even know if they're funny anymore. But I did it with my buddy Dylan, who is a fantastic editor also. He has a film that's currently going around on different festivals right now, and he's like winning a lot. I'm really proud of him.
Okay.
But he was a writing partner, and it was really fun to be able to work with him and bounce ideas off each other. And we would pass off like who did comics like on like Monday, and he'd do one on Wednesday, and then I'd do one on Friday. And it was just a really good creative outlet outside of work. So
And speaking of, we're doing deep cuts now.
Oh, boy.
We also are going to drop in the chat the Ryan Selvy holiday special. I believe
I think
that
that's
this one
that's the OG. I think
is from 2020.
it's 2020. 2021. Yeah, that's
Yep.
the first one. That's the one that
December 2020.
yeah, and it has a link to the full replay. Which is
So
fun.
chat, I'm going to drop that in chat if you want to go check that out as well. I'm just stalking Ryan's Behance.
As you all should as well.
Yeah.
Now's the time. Okay, I like what you're sharing though. It's kind of this idea of not necessarily living in an absolute around new tools and thinking like this is or isn't for me, but kind of engaging in the midst of it and figuring out what does this mean for me.
Yep.
Can you walk us through maybe some other past technological advances that you had to adapt and learn throughout programs or over just like your Creative Cloud
I mean,
use?
vertical video, right? That's in its own thing. Like the idea, I remember when vertical video was starting to become a thing with like Snapchat, and people were like, turn your phone. And it's like, that obviously didn't happen. And so that was a big thing. I also remember when we were doing Snapchat, we were messing around with Snapchat glasses that had the thing where then it like turned the aspect ratio. Obviously that didn't turn into anything, but I thought that was really cool. And just the idea of being able to film everything on your phone rather than a camera, that was a big transition. I remember using things on a tablet rather than vector. When I was first started creating before I had my tablet, I was like using a mouse, and I was just like slowly drawing, which that's a disaster. And it's just with every new technology, like when I learned OBS for streaming, that was really exciting, and learning what you can do with that, with both recording for things that are offline and things that are recording live. That was also something to learn. So just new programs all the time. There's always something new.
I do want to deep cut on the new features. I know that you share with me there are some life-changing feature updates in Premiere and the like. Do you want to talk to us about those?
Yeah, so I get a lot of my money through motion design, and one of them was rotoscoping. That was always like a job that I knew I could do, but I'd just have to put on a TV show, and I'd have to literally spend hours just being like, I am going to completely zone out and work on cutting out this character for the next 6 hours. Like that sounds like an exaggeration. Like no, but literally with it, like if you were doing a 40-second spot and it's 30 frames per second, then whatever 30 times 40 is, what is it, 700? Is that 700? Is that right? Did I right? Okay. Correct me in the chat if I'm
1200?
Is it 1200?
30 times 40?
30 times 40?
Go on.
30 times 40?
It's 1200, yeah.
Yeah, 1200. Yeah.
1200. But let's see, is everyone going to say it in chat? That's good for chat engagement. Mess up your math or how you pronounce things. I don't do it intentionally,
It's a
but
bit.
boy, does engagement spike. There are a few reels I have made where I have mispronounced something totally earnestly. And even after 20 people have corrected me in the comments, there will still be new comments that are like, Ryan. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I still don't know how to say Louvre.
Loewe?
Neither here nor there.
No, like the museum.
Oh, the museum, not the
Which
fountain.
also, I can't say, I say museum wrong.
Oh, because we have the Louvre, we have Loewe, and we also have Laffy?
Laffy,
Oh.
like the artist.
There's there's a lot going on there.
No, but like Louvre, if you try to say it in French and I can't speak French, and you say like, it's like Louvre, but then like, that is completely wrong apparently too. And they're like, yeah, you're speaking French if you want to sound like you're like from Kentucky and like have an accent in French.
Let us know in the comments. And don't forget
they
to
will,
subscribe
dude.
when you're
They
commenting.
will, man.
Also follow.
We're now doing math and vocabulary today.
But anyway, it would take forever. So now we're going back to object map, by the way, and rotoscoping. With rotoscoping, it would take forever. The tools were okay, but they were whatever. Literally overnight, like 2 months ago, Adobe introduced object map. I made a video about this too. To just like, really not even overhyping it. Like, it might be my favorite thing that Adobe has updated in the last 5-10 years. You now click something and it rotoscopes it in probably 20 seconds. Like something that literally took 6 hours before. Life changing.
And chat, if you haven't seen that or don't know about it, I did just drop a link to the blog post so that you can try it for yourself and get a little more info. We do have a couple questions coming in from chat. Do we have chat question time?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do it. All right. First question from Steven. Does Ryan have a favorite project, video, or whatever that he has worked on?
Holiday Specials is the favorite thing I've ever worked on because I got to work with my friends. I got to do interstitials and I got to create just fun. Just like yes-anding it, as you say, or and then what was the second part of the question?
That was it.
Product video. I mean, the video stuff though, I did get to travel around the world for Marriott Rewards with my old agency, which was life-changing, and that was really, really cool. It was really exhausting. We did like 7 or 8 days at every different country, and we had to sell the country, right? So we had to do all the really exciting things, and it's like, well, you had to, but then you have to remember that it's like that thing is like you're capturing content while you're doing it.
So it's not fun.
And so we were following around an influencer, and I also had my manager producer there too, and so they'd be doing the cool stuff and I would also be doing the cool stuff, but I'd be like, if I don't get this shot, like we are currently scuba diving in the Dubai mall, like we're only going down once. If I don't get the shot, like then they're not gonna let me go back down. And I got flown out here to do this. And so that was always really nerve-wracking, but that was also really cool because we did Dubai, South Korea, Berlin, and we did New York.
Wow. Quick
tangent. We went on this tour of Grand Central where we went underneath the city, and we got to see like the original power grid of New York City.
What?
And we also got to go to the top of Grand Central, and it was really cool. But before we did that, our tour guide stopped at a pizza joint around the corner and picked up like 6 pizzas. And then we went down to the bellows of the city, and he gave the pizzas to the people. And we're like, that was weird. I guess they just like are friends and go with it. We wrap on the project. We deliver it to Snapchat and to Marriott. And then like a few months later, my boss comes running down the hallway in the office. And he's like, look on Newsweek or whatever. And he pulled it up, and it was like this guy got fired because he was giving unofficial tours of Grand Central, and he was bribing the people in the basement not to tell on him by giving them pizzas. And I was like, that was us.
I was there.
So that was a really fun product too.
Don't get paid in pizza.
Right. I tell you what.
Also, Marriott seems to run in the family in Adobe. You did all the promo video stuff, and our friend Paul Tranny is actually on one of the splash screens.
Oh,
if you haven't
really?
seen it in the winter, he and his girlfriend are in on one of the splash screens, looking out over the snowy Alps, I think.
Oh.
Beautiful.
So
always just popping up places. I open up my photo time. It's Paul. I'm like, okay, Paul, calm down. Okay.
Adobe
Hey,
X
what's up,
Marriott. We did have one more question in here, and it was, how do you not get overwhelmed with all the new developments, all the new tools?
Ooh, good question, chat.
I mean, that's a mentality thing too, of just I get excited by it in the same way that some people get just excited by like sports and stuff. I just like, I always want to know what's next. I'm always very excited. Like I'm ready to have, robots and stuff, which some people are terrified of, and it's valid, but I just have always thought it was so cool. I love sci-fi, and I'm like ready to live in the Jetsons, right? I don't know if I would be George Jetson though. I might be the daughter. I don't know.
I think that speaking of Jetsons, we did a Office Hours episode where we were referencing Jetsons, and we looked up the year difference, and I think that it's 2060 is when the Jetsons was like supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
We're
And so
almost
like,
there.
in theory, I think that we could get like,
happen.
close to that. Like we could have robot maids by then.
Oh, for
100%.
sure. He's like 30 though, right?
Oh, the Jetsons?
Yeah, the Jetsons.
Oh,
I think
I'll
also the
find out.
Flintstones. I think he's also like 30, and I was like, okay.
I'll find out.
Let's calm down.
Yes, continue on, and I will come back with the Jetsons ages.
Okay, I want to talk about mindset, something you briefly touched on. You are taking off on social media right now. You're getting high engagement with Reels, and you're doing amazing things, which we would love to hear more about. But you kind of share these 3 mantras with me that are keeping you sane in this new new public eye that you're experiencing. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so we have Do It Scared, which is cheesy, but it's very much like a reminder, especially if you're scared about something, just frickin' do it. Like, also people are going to forget things. Done is better than perfect, and I've really been sticking to that this year because it's something that I've really struggled with in the past where that for a lot of people, I feel like that gets to people towards the end where they're like, I just need to cut it off, but I need to remember it from the beginning. Because especially with animations or video editing or anything, like I will obsess over those first few seconds, and then you've been working on it for 3 hours and you're like tired of the project now, and then the rest of the video you can tell that you got tired of it. So it's like for the timeline, like get it in there, do like done is better than perfect. And then if you have time and energy and whatever, then you can go and you can do the details, you can do the fine tuning, da 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 da. So for that, and then, but then also as far as social media, like social media moves so fast, like. You should fine tune it with an extent, but also like people are going to forget about it. And literally, no exaggeration, like 3 minutes, man. Like if you swing and you miss, like no one's going to remember. Like
unless you miss so bad.
Unless you miss so bad, you get canceled because you do something really offensive.
Yeah,
but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, 100%. I love the Do It Scared analogy and just kind of like getting things done. Do you think it's better to have a like completed project that you're happy with, or a project that you have part of it that you're really, really excited about?
I say like completed project.
Whole thing that you're like, all right, that was okay.
Yeah, like because it's also like the same thing with like the holiday specials. Like we always ran out of time, like no matter what. And also when you learn about very famous things all the time, if you look at the behind the scenes, so many times, like even in Star Wars, they're like, oh, that didn't work, that was a mistake, and like it turned out to be the most famous thing. Like so just finish it, and then like you can go back and you can fine tune it, like, and you can be proud of it for the parts that you're proud of, right?
There's a lot of sounds in this office.
All my tummy. All of it is my tummy.
It's all Ryan. We kind of talked to you about the longevity of content and being online, and you kind of shared the idea of that if you're online for any amount of time, at some point it's going to get embarrassing because, you know, content ages and
Oh, that was the other one that I had. My third one was to be cringe is to be free.
Say it again for the chat.
Cringes to be free.
To be cringe is to be free.
I love that.
Because I'm never going to be cool, man. I've tried over the years to be cool, and I'm not cool, and that's okay. It's like whatever you post, even if it's like gonna be really cool, like that's the coolest thing now is also gonna be lame later. Like you're gonna be called Unk later. Like we're also growing older. Like it's just gonna happen. So just be cringe, you know, and be more comfortable with that. And I'm still, you know, better. I mean, easier to say than done. But like, you also look at like Katy Perry going to the music awards the year after like Lady Gaga did like the meat suit, and she's showing up in like a ridiculous outfit, and like it was kind of cool at the time, and now we're like, what were you doing? But that was fashion. You also think of like Kanye West like shutter shades, like what, like all of that is so cringe now, but also at the time everyone thought it was cool. So like even the things that are successfully cool like eventually become so just be comfortable with being lame from the beginning.
Yeah. Wear the skinny jeans.
Wear the skinny jeans, dude.
But I think kind of to what you're saying too is like, how do you authentically show up online if you're like, hey, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I want to tell my audience about, just kind of embracing this idea that, you know, at some point we may feel differently about this, but like I see the moment now and I want to engage with that. Is that kind of what you're sharing? Yeah,
and just like do what makes you happy, because the things that make you happy and are authentically are the things that you're going to be excited about. Like I know I keep talking about Star Wars randomly, but like George Lucas, with Star Wars and stuff, that wasn't even his like magnus opus, right? Or magnum opus. Magnus opus. God. Magnum opus.
We're doing Latin now.
Yeah, right.
Comment.
But he was like passionate about something else, and he did it, and it like bombed and it didn't do great, but like he still did it and he's still proud of it, right? Like, and he's kind of frustrated that Star Wars was the thing that he's then remembered for. And then that's the same thing with you. Like if you do something that like you aren't passionate about, it might end up being your most popular thing. And like, are you okay with that? If you're crying in your Ferrari, like maybe that worked. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess it worked.
Yeah. But it's just like, he can cry in his Ferrari, but he also at one point tried to make the thing that he was really passionate about. And so he did, you know? And so I think just showing up authentically will be rewarding for yourself in the long run. There was this other idea that you shared with me kind of about when creating for yourself, you can experience this frustration gap, which is this idea, right, that, oh, I want to do this but I can't get there and I can't figure out how to get there. And the tools seem a mystery to me. And so you're kind of stuck in this like awkward creating phase, the adolescence of creativity in some ways. Yep.
Can you share how you get out of that and how people can address that?
Part of it never goes away because there's always something to learn. There's always something new. And when you learn something, you learn that you can learn something new on top of that thing. So just be comfortable with being unfamiliar and approaching it with the mindset that it's an exciting thing. And that's cool that like literally this morning you didn't know how to create a new layer and now you do. Like, that's a win.
And I love hearing that from people like you that are established professionals.
Yeah.
Because I think that there is this like, oh, they have it figured out. It's like, oh, we're all just making it up.
Oh, yeah,
like
sure.
everyone's making it up in different ways.
Yeah.
We just have like gotten more confident about how we make it up. Like we can just sell the makeup better.
At Micah, my college, Chip Kidd came, who is the guy that did the logo for Jurassic Park. And I remember him being in a talk and the moderator said, what is your biggest fear? And he said that everyone's going to figure out I'm a fraud. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, he's like, yeah, I did the things, but like, I'm just making it up as I go. And like, I'm waiting for someone to point that out. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I love the eternal creative struggle of like, they're going to find out eventually what's going on.
But here I am on a stage talking about it.
Exactly.
I don't know what we're doing. Isn't it, I don't know the math of it exactly, but isn't it like your taste is usually 5 years ahead of your skill level, or like maybe that's a bigger gap, but it's kind of this idea, right? You're always
Mine's
thinking,
20, apparently.
You know?
I am never pleased with anything.
Cringe.
Cringe.
Okay, we are in our like closing moments here, but I do want to talk a little bit about your recent real creation and everything that you're talking about. I feel like you're really hitting the stride around the Olympics and around, what was the football situation?
Super Bowl was
Super
the big
Bowl,
one
thank you.
that
Yeah.
set it off. What was that football
What's
thing?
the Olympic of football? Yeah.
The
Talk to us
football
about what you were commenting on with the motion graphics and just kind of that rise that you've found.
Something I always notice, like I said, I like interstitials. I like animations. Every single year, the Super Bowl obviously gets a lot of investment into making it grandiose. And when you have broadcasting things, something that really upsets me is the idea that like once it's off, it's kind of gone. You'll get replays, especially of the plays on the field. But then every single year, I'm like, oh, they did a really cool, weird like text wipe or something like that. And so I just made a video about it that I was like, here are the cool overlays for the Super Bowl, and I uploaded it as a reel, and it blew up and got like several million views, and then I got something like 14,000 followers just off of that one video. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. The Olympics then happened the next week. I noticed that they had done a really bad animation, and I posted about it. It got like even like I think 7 million views or something like that, and I was just like, all right, okay, I've been reporting about this stuff in other formats, but now if I'm just going to do it in vertical video, like I've been doing this all along. Like I'll do it if you guys want me to do the dance. And so I've done, and it's just been really cool to be able to reach people, because I'm like, this is what I've been passionate about and talking about for 5 years on live stream, but it just hasn't been the right format. And I still love my live streams. Make sure you watch.
Yeah, stick around in 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes. But it's like that also reaches new people where they're like, oh, I didn't even know you had a show. And I was like, how did you? I talk about it all the time.
That's all I talk about, actually.
What are you talking about? So that's been really cool. And it's just that design doesn't exist in a vacuum. Designers like to think that it does, and that only designers will look at their designs. But my mom has opinions about designs because she's also interacting with it, and her reaction is going to be different. So I don't know, take account.
We love creative moms here.
We love creative
We
moms.
really do. Everyone shout out your mom. Do you have a final closing question from chat? If not, I think we're going to ask, where do we find you online?
I don't. I think
Okay.
that was part of my question. And then also, what can we look forward to in about 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look forward to File New. So make sure you stick around. It'll push you all the way there automatically if you're watching on YouTube. It's File New. You can also find it on Spotify. Just look for File New. It's purple and yellow. Paul Tranny's original show.
Yep.
So shout out to Paul, like third time this episode. And then just find me online, Ryan Selvy, RyanSelvy. And that my things that I care about most right now are YouTube and Instagram.
Couldn't have said it better ourselves. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for tuning in, for being here. And chat, thank you for tuning in. This was a really special episode to be here with both of you guys, and we're really excited for File News, so stick around, and we'll be there soon.
Also, wave from Pam Selvy.
There she
shouting
is.
out
Pam!
moms.
There she is.
There
Hi,
she
moms.
is. Hi, moms. Stick around. More moms on the way.